Happy Friday, folks, and welcome back to the Random Video Blog, where every single Friday I, Graham G.S. Matthews, run down my rambling thoughts in the wrestling world, share a few stories, etc., etc. Today I'm talking about my experience at Northeast Wrestling from this past Friday, their WrestleFest show in Waterbury, Connecticut, March 2nd, 2018. So my first Northeast Wrestling show since my last one back in December, almost exactly 3 months earlier, on December 1st, 2017. I don't know how many Northeast Wrestling shows I've been to at this point. I have been to countless shows over the last 9 years. Their first show is my first ever wrestling show. Not their first show, but one of their shows was my first ever wrestling show back in May of 2009. And on that night, I met Jerry the King Lawler. And in that time, I've met so many wrestlers at these shows. Everyone from AJ Styles and fucking Kurt Angle to the Hardy Boys to pretty much everyone you can ever imagine. Everyone that I've ever wanted to meet. Chris Jericho I talked about a few months ago. It's amazing the amount of people that go to these shows. Notable names from WWE, Impact, Ring of Honor. Cody Rhodes is another one. So I've been able to meet a lot of amazing people at these Northeast Wrestling shows, and their WrestleFest show on Friday was no exception. So as soon as they announced that back in December at the same show that I went to where I met Corey Graves and Cody Rhodes and Christian and all the others, the same night when I went to that show, they announced that Emma would be appearing at their WrestleFest show in March. Now, WrestleFest is like their version, essentially, of what WrestleMania is to WWE. And it's crazy to think I've never had been to one of the WrestleFest shows before. The last number of years, every time they've had it, it's always been in Connecticut while I was in Massachusetts at school, because they would always take place in early March. I could never make it. And then when I was in high school, they would always do the WrestleFest shows in Poughkeepsie, New York. So they're finally doing more shows in Connecticut, the WrestleFest shows in recent years. And as soon as I knew I could go, I booked the trip, got the tickets a few weeks ago, got some great seats right next to the aisleway. And as soon as they announced Emma for the show, I knew I was in. So in the weeks that followed, they announced a lot of amazing people. A few people that couldn't make it were Tito Santana. I was told he had some travel issues, he lost power. So we had this pretty bad rainstorm on Friday. If you're not from the Northeast of the U.S., you might not be aware of it, but we had a pretty bad rainstorm on Friday that knocked out power almost everywhere here in at least Connecticut. In some places, as I speak, are still without power, which is pretty incredible, but it's true. Even my house, where I live, we lost power here until like 1 o'clock in the morning. And we lost it at around like noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday. Thankfully, it was at work at that point where we did not lose power. And then I went to the show immediately after the show. I immediately after work, excuse me. So I never went home. I never had to deal with no power, which was pretty cool. But yeah, there was obviously some travel issues as a result of that, specifically with Tito Santana. So I wanted Tito to sign my Intercontinental Championship, considering he was one of the first ever people to hold this belt. So maybe at some point down the road. Mark Henry was supposed to be there. He was another huge name advertised. WWE had to pull him a few weeks ago, which I was completely unaware of until the show itself. They had to pull him for an Arnold Classic that same weekend. So he couldn't make it, which I was fine with. I had already met Mark Henry a few years ago. I wasn't even going to meet him anyway. I met him 2 years ago. I already got a picture with him and an autograph, so I really had no desire to meet him again. The big people that I wanted to be there, that were there, were Rey Mysterio, who I met a number of times, but got to meet him again, and I was there, as I've talked about before, for the Royal Rumble return of Rey Mysterio back in January in Philly with RJ, and it was an amazing time. That was a great match, but Rey Mysterio's return for me was the highlight of the weekend. And we had Gargano and Almas, one of the greatest matches I've ever seen live, but no, Rey Mysterio coming back was the greatest thing I have seen since the Hardy Boys came back at WrestleMania 33, which I was also there for. But seeing Ray back was amazing. I got to tell him that and all this other stuff, but I'll get to that momentarily. So Ray was there. In the weeks that followed, they announced the Young Bucks, Marty Scurll. Emma was already supposed to be there. Mick Foley, who replaced Mark Henry. And I think that was it for like huge names. There was a few other people there as well, like the Kingdom. They're always there. Flip Gordon is usually always there. He's their current Northeast Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. Joey Mercury has been making frequent appearances from Northeast in recent months, so he was already expected to be there. Deonna Purrazzo, who's been there a number of times, who I met last year. Who else? Lanny Poffo actually made the trip as well. I wanted to meet him, got to meet him as well. So left work on Friday, got to the show. Huge ass line to meet all these people. It was in an auditorium, and the line went well outside the auditorium. It was largely for the Young Bucks. A lot of people wanted to meet the Young Bucks, and their line is always long. And I talked about this when I went to Final Battle. I did my Ring of Honor Final Battle experience video a few months back, but I paid to meet the Young Bucks and Adam Page that night at Ring of Honor Final Battle in New York. But I couldn't go because my friend was waiting outside. I mean, I was waiting in line. I'm thinking, okay, this will be done in a few minutes. The line was so long. And credit to the Young Bucks and the Bullet Club. They were taking their time with everybody. But as a result, I was so far behind in line, I was going to either both actually miss the show and not pick up my friend from the outside. I needed to give him his ticket so he couldn't get in. So he could get in because he couldn't get in before he had the ticket, which is what I'm trying to say. So I had to leave the line, and I said in that video as well, like, I'll get my chance to meet them at some point down the road. And I've become a big Young Bucks fan in the last, for a while now, but at least in the last year or so, since being the Elite, I got into that a few months ago. So really wanted to meet them. Finally got my chance on this show after waiting like fucking hour and a half, but it was well worth it. I'd already met Mick Foley like a million times, so just said hi to him real quick that I enjoyed his St. Mick book, which I got right here for you, which I know I reviewed here on the channel not too long ago, but I said I enjoyed your Mick book, and he said I appreciate that, so cool to see Mick again. But yeah, I bypassed him, met the Young Bucks, and especially Marty Scurll, whose shirt I'm wearing right now, whose shirt I wore to the show. Marty Scurll was another guy I wanted to meet at that Ring of Honor Final Battle show, but I couldn't, because, not that I waited in line for, but I did, but I got there a little too late, and by the time I got there, he was already done signing autographs for the day, which sucked. But he was done, and I couldn't meet him. So I got to meet him here, and I retold him the same story I just told you guys about not being able to meet the Young Bucks and Marty in Final Battle because I had to leave to give my friend his ticket. And they were super cool about it. First of all, the coolest people I met the entire night were the Young Bucks and Marty Scurll and Northeast. They were super, super nice. Marty's like, and he put me in a chicken wing at one point. It was pretty funny. But he's like, oh, man, we appreciate that. And he gave me a hug. He's like, I love the shirt. And I told him the story. And he actually gave me a free bandana, which I have over there. I'm not going to get up and get it because I'm too lazy. But he gave me a free a Bullet Club bandana. Or one from Marty Scurll specifically. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. Alright, so I paused the video to go get the bandana. I was being lazy. I had to contemplate literally for like 15 seconds whether I should go get it across my room, and I did. So you can see Villain. It says whoop whoop there in the corner. Right there for you. Or does this say whoop whoop? Yes, it does. Yeah, so I put this on the side, and I almost lost it. It fell on the floor, and it got all dusty, but I was contemplating whether I should show it to you guys, and I was like, yeah, fuck it, I will. So anyway, point of the story being that he gave me one of these for free, because Marty's the fucking man, and I got to tell him, I love being the Elite, big fan of it. They were super cool, got to do a little too sweet, and obviously I almost got sued for that, because WWE, sent the cease and desist for the too sweet stuff. They didn't do the too sweet, but I did. Got the picture. I'll use that as a thumbnail for the video. But they were super cool. So great meeting them. And I got to... Also, I tweeted out, what their videos mean to me and all that other stuff on Twitter. And Marty Scurll replied. And the Young Bucks liked the tweet. So that was really, really cool. So after them, I got to meet Emma, who was super sweet. Said happy belated birthday. I'm sure I wasn't the only one, but she celebrated the birthday the day before. She's like, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Took the picture. Said I was a big fan. Just recently rewatched their match with Emma from Arrival a few days earlier because it was the 4-year anniversary. She's like, oh yeah, one of my favorite matches. Appreciate the support, blah, blah, blah. So she was super nice. Every bit as gorgeous, if not even more so in person than she is on TV. Then I got to meet Rey Mysterio again. So I've met Rey Mysterio now 4 times. One at a book signing in May of 2010. I got to meet him in August of 2015 at a Northeast show. The same day I met Samoa Joe and a few others. I got to meet him a few months after that in November of 2015 when I got an autograph picture for RJ. So this time, the autograph was for me. Again, I've had his autograph before, but so I've been on a mission the last couple months to have former Intercontinental Champions sign my Intercontinental Championship belt. And shout out to Jason for getting me this belt in the first place, which I know I thanked them before, but I want to thank him again. So Rey Mysterio, obviously, a former Intercontinental Champion. So I'm only going to have former IC champions sign this thing. And so far I have, right there, that's Christian. Or no, wait. Yeah, that's Christian. This one is Cody Rhodes, Chris Jericho, excuse me. Cody Rhodes is in the center there. That's Ricky Steamboat, Cody Rhodes. And then in the gold, I got Rey Mysterio. So Rey Mysterio got to sign it. And they were like rushing through everybody. So I didn't have too much time to talk to him, but I did say I was there for the Rumble return. I freaked out. That was the only thing I wanted to see all weekend. And he's like, oh yeah, WWE did a great job of, keeping it under wraps and keeping it a secret, blah, blah, blah. So that was really cool. Great to see Ray Ray again. And then after that, I got to talk to a few other, local guys that I see all the time. Ron Zombie, Bull Dread, the promoter. Got to talk to Matt Taven for a few minutes. Like I said, took pictures with Lanny Poffo. So speaking of Lanny Poffo, I tweeted this out, but I'll say it again. Lanny Poffo's poems, I used one of them for a creative writing assignment. And I'm huge into creative writing. I'll write story after story after story. That comes easy to me. For a creative writing class I had in high school, my senior year, my second semester senior year, it was January of 2013. So over 5 years ago at this point. And I was right about to graduate. And it was I could not have given a shit about that class. The teacher was he wasn't that nice. So he was fine. He wasn't too bad, to be honest. But I didn't really give a shit about his class. And poems, I can't do. So I took a poem that he wrote off online because I procrastinated so much. I basically cheated. I had stolen a poem from online from Lanny Poffo, and I used it. And I didn't tell him that exactly. I just said that his poems inspired my assignments. But anyway, so I did that, and I used it for an assignment, and I got in trouble for it, and I think I failed the assignment. I didn't fail the class. I think they're supposed to report, shit like that when you, what's it called? When you steal someone else's work. I'm fucking blanking here, but you guys know the word. I had done that with one of his poems. It was a small assignment. I failed the assignment. I still passed the class. I still got a pretty decent grade in the class. But, the only time I ever cheated in high school was for that. So I have Lanny Poffo to thank for that. So I told him, a better version of that story when I met him. He was nice. He was fine. I got to meet Joey Mercury. Took a picture with him. He was Joey Mercury. Really not much more to say other than that. And I also got to meet Flip Gordon. Well, I met before. I interviewed him about 2 years ago for a school assignment after a chaotic wrestling show in Lowell, Mass. The same night that I got lost there with Zach Donegan. Great time, but we got to meet Flip Gordon that night. And I did not know he would become the star that he would end up becoming in Ring of Honor and other companies. So I got to take a picture with him, told him that I met him a few years earlier. He remembered, so yeah. Flip Gordon, really cool, despite the fact that he thinks the earth is flat, but that notwithstanding, he is a very cool guy. The show itself was fun, very fun show. The Young Bucks came out to film for an episode Being the Elite. Start off the show. The footage of that is available here on the channel. I put it up a few days ago. You can check that out. They were interrupted by the Kingdom. We saw the tag team titles change hands. It was a good show, a very good show. I've seen better in-ring shows from Northeast. Even the December show I thought was better on the whole in the ring than this show was. But it was still very good. The main event did see Rey Mysterio and Flip Gordon team up to take on Joey Mercury and Caleb Conley. Fun match. The big news coming out of the show is that Rey Mysterio was potentially hurt. So maybe by the time that this goes up, we have a better idea of how hurt he actually is. But news broke last weekend that he possibly suffered a torn bicep. And that would explain that after the match, Ray was rushed out of the ring and right to the back. Usually you know how he does, he puts his head up to people's masks and stuff. He did that on the way to the ring, not leaving the ring, though. And I know he had to miss an indie show on the Thursday before Friday, before the show, because of a family emergency. So I thought that might have been what it was, why he had to be rushed to the back. But as soon as the match ended, he hugged Flip Gordon. They posed, and he appeared to be fine at the end of the match. He appeared to be okay. So I'm not sure what was going on there. And I'm not sure when it would have happened. But yeah, he left the ring, and Matt Taven rushed him to the back. He was like, don't touch him. The fans were trying to give him high fives, and Matt Taven was kind of guarding him off. So that would explain that. So Rey Mysterio probably was hurt, and hopefully it's not too serious. But overall, fun show, despite the fucking rainstorm we had to drive to there in and back from. So that wasn't too bad. Not as bad as it could have been. But it was fine, very fun time. So I got to meet, again, the Young Bucks, Marty Scurll, Emma, Rey Mysterio again, Flip Gordon again, Lanny Poffo, and Joey Mercury. So a very fun time in the whole. Looking forward to my next Northeast Wrestling show. In probably a few months, they have a slew of shows coming up in April, later this month, in May, none of which I'm currently slated for. Slated to go to anyway, not booked for the card, obviously. I'm just a mark at the end of the day. But we'll see. We'll see. If you are in the area, if you live in the Northeast, whether it be New York, Mass, Connecticut, or even in the, I know they do shows in Ohio, and maybe sometimes Kansas. So definitely make it to Northeast Wrestling. They have great shows all the time, and they're always a lot of fun. So definitely check them out when you get the chance. And that is my experience at Northeast Wrestling's WrestleFest show from last Friday. So, as I mentioned last week, the feature of the random video blog is still up in the air. I'm not really sure what I'll be doing yet for the random video blog. Moving forward after the month of March is over, whether I'll be continuing it or doing it, on occasion. We'll see. But in the meantime, though, guys, you can like this video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. I appreciate the support. And we'll be back next Friday with another installment in the random video blogs. Until then, guys, have a great rest of your weekend, a fantastic Friday. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road. Whoop, whoop!